Good afternoon and welcome to the August 29th, 2023 Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust meeting. We'll now call the meeting to order. Item 2 is the minutes, receiving the minutes from the July 18th, 2023 trust meeting. If there's no questions or comments on those, we can take a motion. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And the item passes. Item 3 on the agenda is the ratification of claims. We take a motion for those. Motion and a second. That item passes as well. Next, on item 4, items for individual consideration. Item 4A is a joint resolution approving an allocation not to exceed $1.9 million from TIF 2 in support of the 520 West Main project. Mr. Sudol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this exciting project that it's a redevelopment of the former Holiday Inn building. It's about a $20 million project, constructing 204 apartment units, and the team's going to come talk to us and tell us a little bit more about that. What our incentives are on this would be not to exceed $1.9 million, which would consist of $1.5 million of TIF 2 dollars, basically up front once the project's completed, so there would be no construction risk. That would be after the issuance of the CO. And then the remaining $400,000 is the estimate of what that they would probably have about 2 years once completed left in the TIF before TIF number 2 expires. So it would be a pay-in, pay-out on that portion. So with that, I'll call up Kevin Harris with Affinity Investments is going to come up and give you a lot more information about the project and make it much more exciting than I did. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Kenny said, I'm Kevin Harris, and I have some of my colleagues here, Brendan and Marcelo. I think we're just to start off with, just to let you know, we are Long Oklahoma. This isn't our first project here. This is I think our 9th project here. We have a number of assets. I think, who am I talking to? Sarah. Just to show you what we have already in Oklahoma City. We have 7 assets of 1,184 units. Approximate value is $160 million. We can go to the next one, please. So we have Countryside Village, which is in Oklahoma City, which is 360 units. We have Charleston Crossing in Tulsa, which is 124 units. 9320 Apartments, 100 units in Tulsa. Ridge Park Apartments, 100 units in Tulsa. Inverness, 91 units in Tulsa. District 610 is in Lawton, 229 units. And Ridge Park Apartments in Norman, Oklahoma, 128 units. And here to this afternoon, we're here to talk about the Pulse, is what's the name we've come up with for it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with ChatGPT, which is the AI, solve all problems in the world. And this is one of the options that they came up with that thought would be a good name for this. So our byline was we're bringing another heartbeat to the city of Oklahoma, which is fun. Location, obviously we love the location. I mean, for any young professional renting our space, I think that they've got such a unique opportunity. I know when I was young and single and I was starting out in my career as an architect, I would have loved to stay in a place that has the amenities package and location that this has. I mean, within a 2-mile radius, you've got all the bars, all the restaurants, all the offices, where many of these people will be working. And on the 2, great access into the city with West Main Street and West Sheridan Avenue. I mean, you in terms of location, it doesn't get much better than that. And I think the beautiful thing about having a hotel conversion is you have all that big hotel space that you have downstairs, which was formerly banqueting and all that sort of stuff, which we've been able to convert into the most amazing amenities package. I think every amenity you could possibly think of that you'd want to have as a person living in an apartment building is available in this space. So location, we love it. We call it efficiency urban living because obviously, I remember when I was young and single, I just wanted a place to sleep and then I wanted to go out and have fun with my friends. So what we've done is we're doing a direct conversion of the 204 apartments into 204 apartments. hotel rooms to apartments. So it's a connected live, work, play community, 10 stories, 204 apartments, and obviously the amenities package. And I think the thing that's most attractive is, of course, the price, is that this is a true affordable product. I think it's the only real affordable product that, from our research, that will be available here that still is, it's still a Class A product, but it's just because of its size makes it affordable for pretty much everybody. So we're excited about that. The breakdown, obviously, is the majority of the apartments, 184 of them are 316 square feet, and then there's a couple of smaller ones and some larger ones, but the majority is going to be 316 square feet. How do you make 316 feet feel big? It's a tricky job. Let's go to the next one. So I think the magic here is, it's about efficiency. So, from your bedroom, you can wash your dishes, you can have a shower, you can do your laundry, all from your bed. I'm just kidding. But, you have your bathroom as you come in. It's a typical hotel room, but obviously we're putting in kitchenettes and redoing all the bathrooms. Everything will be new and beautiful. So this is just kind of an artist's impression of what it will look like. That's the PTAC unit in the desk at the back there. Small desk area, full-size fridge, smaller one, but full-size. Stove, microwave, dishwasher, and sink, and then some counter space. That's what it will look like if it was furnished. There's space for a couch. That's another view, empty. Next one, another view, full. So there is room. You're not going to be entertaining your 25 relatives here, but there's lots of space downstairs that you could use for that. So this is the part that we're really excited about. Obviously, we want to, and we've got lots of interest already for the retail space downstairs, probably some restaurant/bar opportunity that will service, obviously, the 204 apartments above, and also attract, I would think, a lot of city folk as well who aren't residents here. But look at what you have. You have an indoor pickleball court, which will also convert into a multi-purpose court, so you could have futsal or basketball or volleyball. It's a beautiful space. It's where the banqueting room is right now. It's got beautiful chandeliers. I think we'll keep those there. Incredible clubhouse, business center, and shared office space. Pet grooming. It's a big problem. It's a big thing these days. I mean, everybody's got pets, and the pets get treated better than the children do these days. So it's a big revenue spinner too, because pets pay rent too. Bicycle storage and charging, state-of-the-art fitness center. Again, that potentially could be another tenant, but I think it's going to be a beautiful space because it's going to be a real big gym, which is uncommon for, if you look at most multifamily apartment buildings, they don't have the big space. This is actually big space for everything. A dog park, modern pool and barbecue areas, media room, events area, laundry facilities, packaging center, and that's also obviously a big thing, the Amazon packaging and receiving center. We'll also have fridges there because a lot of people will order food in, which they'll just microwave. Laundry facilities, packaging, storage cages, on-site management, on-site restaurant or bar, table tennis, pool tables, bocce, cornhole, shuffleboard. I think we've covered everything. If you can think of anything else we could add, we'll add it.
You forgot to mention the proximity to the library.
That's really important, yes, the proximity to the library. And the school across the road. That's a view for the business center and the common area as you walk in. So it's going to be a beautiful, active, vibrant space as you walk in. The next one, this is the clubhouse. So it'll have all the pool tables and some of the amenities, lots of places for people to sit and eat and talk and meet with their friends. And I know it's not great seeing the artist's impression, but it will look much better when you visit. Sources and uses. Obviously, we're getting a bank loan for about 9.5. We've got a PACE loan tied up for 4.5, TIF funding of 1.5, and our equity is already raised and in the bank waiting for closing. So the building acquisition is $6.7 million. Hard construction cost is 8.9. Soft construction cost is 695. Senior lender interest reserve is 650. PACE lender interest reserve is 638. Closing and financing costs 270. Holding costs 223. Developer fees 782. Operating reserves of 300 and a contingency of 945, bringing us to just over $20 million in spend. So that's pretty much it. That's our little byline, bringing another heartbeat to the city, because I feel like this will be another pulsating amenity for the city of Oklahoma. We've been here for a long time, and I just love what the city's done with all of the, the MAPS programs, etc. It's just, I wish there's a few cities that we're doing business in. I'd love to get some of you guys there to come and help them get their city on track, because certainly you guys have done an incredible job, and that's why we love it. We're not here for a short time, we're here for a long time. We want to grow our portfolio to several thousand units because we really believe in the city of Oklahoma. In fact, of all the cities we've done business in, which is about 12 over the years, this is the only place that we have zero tenant delinquency. Everywhere else we have tenant delinquency. Here in Oklahoma we don't, and on the rare occasion we do, we go to the church down the road and the church helps out. So I think that's a lot to do with the mindset of the Midwest mindset, and I think it's a testament also to what you're attracting into the city. So we're very excited about this market, we're very excited about this product, and we're very excited about the opportunities this will bring for young people to not have to travel so far into work and to have a real live, work, play community and environment. I don't know if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Yes, Kenny, the question I'd ask you, as far as the developer's fee is concerned, is that in line with other developer fees for similar projects in Oklahoma City?
Yes, sir.
So I'm very excited about location, amenities, the price point, without compromising quality. Another thing that you said, mentioned is your long-term commitment. And I was just looking at the reviews of your other properties, and they're great. And so I think, oftentimes we're looking at pre-development or the development of a property, and then we sort of walk away and never think about it again. But I just want to share and comment that looking at the reviews of those that are residing in your Oklahoma City or Broken Arrow properties, the reviews are 3.5 or higher. So that's the comment mostly of saying that kudos to you and your team. The only question I have, parking.
Yes.
Describe that, how many spaces are available. You talked about the school across the street, which my child, who's in the back, goes to one of those schools. So what's the parking situation for this?
Well, we thought we had negotiated a deal with the city, but it seems like that is under review at the moment. So we have a deal with a parking garage next door, with a view that with a long-term lease to be able to. And we have direct access from that parking garage, the one that sits right adjacent to our block.
Sheridan Walker.
Sorry, Kenny. Good. Okay. Yeah. So we've got it all tied up. So there's going to be that parking garage is basically empty. So as many parking bays as we need, we'll have access to. We're just negotiating on how that's going to work. Obviously, we're hoping that the city will follow us with lease up, because obviously, it's going to, let's say it's a 12-month construction period, and it'll probably, we think we'll lease up real quick, but let's say it's another 12 months to lease up. We just want to grow the parking bays with our growth. So we have it tied up. We're just negotiating some of the nuances. I thought it was all tied up, but we just had a meeting before this, so we've got some work to do on tying that up. But, we just, what's interesting at the moment is, as you know, the world's in a little bit of turmoil. The banking communities in a little bit of turmoil. When we started this due diligence a year ago, the interest rates were 3% lower. Now the interest rates are 3% higher, and the longer we wait, the interest rates keep going up. So the parking thing is a big thing for us. I'm glad you mentioned it, because if we don't, it's actually a condition of closing. So as much as we love the project and we've invested, $500,000 already in pre-development work, if we can't get the parking to work for us, because we're getting squeezed everywhere with all the bank rates, and construction costs have gone through the roof, and it's if the parking is important. So we've got it, we have it, we just got to negotiate the price and the team to work together to get it to work. So if any of you can help us with that, we would appreciate it, because it's slowing down the process and we want to get going. We're ready to rock and roll. All the architecturals are done, all the permits are almost through. And we're ready to rock and roll and get started. We're eager to get this thing off the ground, and that's the only roadblock we have at the moment is the parking.
And we're having discussions with COTPA, who owns that garage, and working through that, so that's ongoing.
Okay, thank you.
So if you have your ideal scenario, when do you break ground and then there's 24 months construction and lease up? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we break ground, well, as soon as there's one more permit that we're waiting for to come in. We have two, we almost got the two. They should be out this week, next week, which is the floors 2 through 10, sorry. The only one we're still waiting for is the ground floor permit, but we can start from the top. We will start from the top down. So as soon as we close the loan, we're ready to break ground. We've got a local architect, we've got a local developer, GCs. So we are ready to rock and roll. You know, the bank's got its closing process, and one of the check items is the parking. So that's the only thing that's really holding us up.
And who's your general contractor?
Our general contractor is Quad. It used to be Smith & Pickle. They've changed their name to Quad.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, we can take a motion on item 4A. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Can I motion as well? Is that it? Thank you.
The item passes. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your
very much.
presentation.
Thank you.
All right, brings us to item 4B, a joint resolution for Project Dino, or Dino, approving an allocation not to exceed $33,753 in pay for performance film incentives with Jurassic Games 2 LLC. Ms. Simpson?
Good afternoon, trustees. I've got a third application to present to you today. The project has a code name of Project Dino, and we give it that code name to protect some of the confidentiality of the project. This is a 100% locally grown production. It's Boiling Point Media. They started out as an advertising agency and they branched into digital animation. And it's in the small budget category. They do film-friendly, hybrid, live action and digital animation films. And they're the only group in the city or the state that I know of that is doing animation. The filming dates for the project are over a 4-week period, October 2nd through the 25th. Boiling Point Media, as I mentioned, they have a small studio up on, you'd never know they were there. They're on North Wilshire in an office park, but they're looking to expand. They work with companies all over the world. They do a lot of work for companies out of Thailand doing their animation. The previous projects they've done have been distributed through Lionsgate, which is a national distributor. You can get their things, their films at Walmart, maybe Target, various online on-demand outlets. And again, they've already produced 8 family-friendly films that are written and directed by their team. 93% of the crew that they're hiring are Oklahoma City based from our 7-county area. Anticipated Oklahoma expenditures, which is 100% of their budget, it's $675,055. They qualify for the 5% tier, which is a minimum of $500,000. And the benchmarks that they're hitting are the $500,000 minimum, 100% of filming days in Oklahoma City, hiring more than 50% local crew. I'm very excited they're going to do post-production in Oklahoma City, which is scoring, automatic dialogue replacement, which is if an actor doesn't get a line exactly right, they bring them back in to do that line. All of the picture cutting and the sound processes, so that's a piece of the industry that we really want to grow here, and the recording and producing music here. So based on their expenditures of $675,055, that would qualify them for 5%, $33,753. So that's what we're recommending. Moving on, they are hiring 120 of our local cast and crew members. The man days, when you multiply out the number of shooting days by the amount of people they're hiring, it's 2160 in work days here in the metro. 93% of Oklahoma City residents being hired. Their qualifying labor income is a little over 170,000. They're shooting over 18 days, and another cool piece of this project, Boiling Point has a new LED volume wall, which is cutting-edge technology for the film industry, which allows you to be anywhere in the world and look like you're in that location. They could have filmed the pyramids in Egypt and have that on the screen behind you, and it could look like you're walking right there. So that's another piece of the toolkit here in Oklahoma City that I'm really excited about, and they're using for this project. Again, 100% of filming in Oklahoma City. 100% of their vendors are within Oklahoma City limits. They are keeping an eye toward diversity hires. We can't require that at this point until we have the volume of support services that we need, but that is something that we're certainly trying to push our applicants toward. 93% of the tech talent, which is film editors, composers, film colorists, sound engineers, scoring, and sound resources are also Oklahoma City, and they're using a company called OK Sounds. OK Sounds Good, which is now set up at Boiling Point. So they're becoming a full-service operation. We ran this application through our new RPAS Economic Impact Modeler, and based on their $675,000 expenditure, the total economic output is $1.5 million. Jobs supported, direct and indirect, 124. Labor income, 391, 135. And again, qualified expenditure, 675, 055. Taxable expenditures, 23,688. And below the line salary and their daily allotment of per diem is 75,100. Do you have any specific questions about this project?
Any questions, comments? Nope. Thank you for the presentation. We can go ahead and take a motion on item 4B. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. The item passes.
Thank you very much.
Brings us to item 4C on the agenda, a resolution approving the revised terms of OIA's sale of Site 1 of the 577 acres property. Mr. Sudol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was back in February. You all had approved one of 3 different sites, the first sites that were going to be developed at 577. This is the one that's going to have it's Site I, that's the spec office space up kind of closer to, or spec manufacturing space that's up closer to I-240. We needed to make an amendment to reduce the acreage on this because we had a proposed design and layout of the road, and once we've actually got into it, some of this property that we were going to do is where the road needs to go. So we needed to carve about 4.5 acres out of it, which also reduces the price. So the piece OCEDT is getting back. It was going to be 1.57 million because we're reducing that. If, as you recall, we get 25% of the property sale, we'll be getting 1.337 million. So slight reduction in the acreage, slight reduction in the proceeds that OCDT will be getting. And if you've driven by there recently, you'll see there's a whole bunch of site work started, and this road's starting to come along. So that's what we're doing on this particular amendment.
Right. Thank you. Any questions? If not, we could take a motion on item 4C. I said Site 1, but it's Site I.
Yes, sir.
But it looks like a 1 to me. Please vote. What? My glasses. The item passes. Brings us to item 4D on the agenda, amendment number 1 to a memorandum of agreement between Oklahoma County and Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust. Mr. Sudol.
Yes, sir. So this was an agreement from November of 2021 that was to provide $5 million of funds to the county for two of their buildings, the Investors Capital Building at 217 North Harvey and the County Annex Building, which is right next to it. What happened on this, there was a list of different projects that were eligible for these funds to be spent on. Subsequently, they were able to get some ARPA funds that did a couple of the projects. So they obviously had more needs and felt like it would be appropriate to just approve some additional needs. So I think they'll be able to do some additional things with their elevators in the courthouse and some fire code upgrades in the annex building. Again, this is where I think we use is this TIF 2? So we have in the past done some projects with our other taxing jurisdictions out of these dollars.
So the funds will be going to the same locations, just
Yeah.
different projects within.
Yes, no change in the amount of money we're giving them. It just because they were able to find some other funds, we're adding some additional eligible projects to this agreement.
Great. Any other questions?
When do you think that project will start?
I do not know the answer to that. We can get something and get back to you.
All right, if no other questions, we could take a motion on item 4D. We have a motion and a second. And the item passes. Item 4E is an economic development agreement with the Harlow LLC for support of $4.2 million from TIF D for the Harlow project. Mr. Sudol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as a reminder, this was a project that recently came forward for the allocation. This is just the economic development agreement. It's pretty standard. I don't think there's anything, Joanna's advised, there's nothing. This is kind of our boilerplate agreement. Just as a reminder, what we're doing, we're providing up to 70% of their ad valorem for the first 8 years and up to 50% for the next 4 years. So after 12 years, there's no more incentive. And those amounts combined cannot exceed $4.2 million. If you'll recall, this was about a $70 million project that's redoing those office buildings, turning them into housing, about 265 apartments.
Any questions on item 4E? If not, we can take a motion. We have a motion and a second. The item passes. Brings us to item 4F, receives the Oklahoma City Economic Development Foundation fiscal year 23 fourth quarter report. Mr. Seymour?
I see my audience is gradually dispersed, so. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Drew. That's why we carry Drew around, is to continue to support from behind the scenes. So no, I just want to say thank you again. I think I always open with a thank you, and that continues today to say thank you for this partnership. We had the chance yesterday in front of many of our peers statewide to showcase the partnership between the city, the Alliance, and the Chamber. And it's really nice to be able to sit on a stage together and talk about how intricately we all work together. As it relates to this report, this continues to be an extremely busy year. I think we all are looking around at the U.S. economy and the international economy and wondering what's around the corner, but also seeing a lot of opportunities come our way. And I think sort of the trend line right now would be that really big projects, really, really complicated projects, and projects that are requiring us to dig maybe a little bit deeper than we ever have had before on many fronts. One of the challenges we continue to face in this market, surprisingly enough, continues to be land and building inventory, land inventory in particular. The opportunity to find large sites with available utilities, and it is a challenge that I think that as Oklahoma City continues to elevate its profile, we'll have to continue to figure out how to address. And how we do that as both public and private partners, I think, will be a significant challenge, but I think yields significant opportunities. Just overall, I think we see companies continuing to think about their footprint in the marketplace and trying to stay in front of significant economic trends, including things like electric vehicles, et cetera, where you're seeing these large outlays of capital investment, large outlays of people, and also trying to figure out where in the U.S. they place those things. And candidly, right now, we're not that competitive, but we need to be in the future. So those are all editorial comments that aren't in your notes, but I'll also give you a couple rundowns of notes. This has also been a really good quarter related to outcomes. If you look in that report that we shared, multiple big and significant projects. Canoe has recently announced their acquisition of the former Terex property. I think we're all watching excitedly for the manufacturing process to start in that building. We work as a regional organization, so it's our jobs to not only think here in Oklahoma City, but also the region as well. So projects in Midwest City like Centrillium Proteins, one of the first projects they've been able to land in their community from a manufacturing perspective for many years. Also, Southern Rock Energy Partners in Cushing, potential for a large oil and gas refining investment there as well. So also have been on the road a lot, as you know. Tammy on my team continues to beat the drum for retail opportunities in the marketplace. We're excited to see things like Andretti's project that has been going, I think, the duration of my tenure here at the Chamber, plus to finally land at the half and move forward, hopefully with construction in the near term. Excited about that as another addition to what's developing as a really significant mixed-use space in Oklahoma City. Also the announcement and the opening of the new Mexican consulate in Oklahoma City. When you really think about the trend lines from a demographic perspective, this growing Hispanic population we have opens up so many new doors for us to not just think about diverse skill sets, but new business opportunities, and I think even international business and travel opportunities as well. And Consulate Pineda has been a tremendous partner, and we're excited about what her vision is for expanding that relationship as well. So I'll close by saying there's some big picture work in front of us. One of the conversations that we were supported with through our addendum contract with the city is an updated daycare study to really take a deeper dive into both Central Business District downtown, but also the greater metro region to understand what is both supply and demand on the child care front. And I think we knew before we could try to attempt to address any challenge, you kind of have to know what the facts are. And that was really what I think this study was all about. We're excited to roll out sort of an action plan coming from that document in the next 60 days, but also have been able to have some really meaningful conversations with downtown employers in particular, who are really trying to figure out specific ways to solve their challenges. And so that's been a separate working group coming out of that study. So I would say in general, again, thank you for the support. We continue to see tremendous outcomes, and the challenges are also significant that we continue to try to overcome. So happy to answer any questions.
I have the floor, okay. Thank you all for your leadership and being a significant driver when it comes to, you know, some of the economic development projects, community development projects that we're seeing across the region. Specific to this report,
Sure.
I think in the future, what will be helpful, because I'm really questioning the value of this report in that it's a lot of input information, what activities you all are doing, and we don't necessarily, I think about from a management perspective, that's not necessarily our role. I do want to understand more big picture. What is the impact of those activities?
Sure.
And I think that in some places it's hit, but not overall, like where are we headed, right? And so instead of you all spending, and I know I've been on the other side of that, so many hours generating this report, and I'm sure it's valuable, you know, for maybe others.
No, it's fun to do this. Trust
Yeah,
me.
no, I'm sure it's a you know, the highlight of your life. But instead, I would like us to really think about an impact report, right? And so,
Sure.
yes, you all are going on these trips. Yes, you're doing this, but you know, we're talking about projects in the pipeline, 92. What's the impact of that? What are those metrics? You know, how is it moving our city forward? And I think that gets to us telling our story better.
Sure.
So when you talk about outcomes, I see less of that here and more of your input. So we're going these places, we're talking to this many people, but what is that actually turning into that benefits our economy and the people that are here? Not only the place, but the people that are here. Having conversations with you, I get that, right? But it's not captured in the report. So that's the feedback that I have about the report.
No, I appreciate it, Mariana. I mean, or trustee Adams, I should say, is, to your point, these very intimate conversations that you and I have had, is there are some really big challenges that we're trying to address collectively, and that sometimes what you capture from a transaction description doesn't really capture the spirit of what we're trying to do. I think, and the good news is we've kind of locked in on the report here, but to your point, there's some other bigger picture conversations afoot. One of those, and Kenny, if you don't mind me saying this, is a joint partnership between the city, the Alliance, and the Chamber to really examine exactly the conversation you're describing, which is what are we measuring and how? What are the outcomes that we're trying to generate from a longer term perspective, and how do we really measure those in a way that isn't, a 30-page report, that we all have sort of some combined metrics that we can look at, deeper look at inclusive development in particular, I think, and what needles are moving and what does that longitudinal data look like, but also really what kind of city are we all collectively working to build. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think the spirit of this report has traditionally been a way to show like, hey, there's a lot of work happening at the grindstone, but to your point, there's also other ways to have other conversations about what are we all working to build. So I agree with you holistically. And thank you for the partnership.
A quick comment, because it's going to be same for also the Alliance report next, that some of this also is just complying with our contracts that we have with OCDT, and to your point, to kind of report out to the trustees and the citizens, like all the activities that are happening. But certainly we want to always focus on outcomes, but some of that's contractual in nature too.
No, absolutely. And I think that's why a larger conversation, or maybe an internal conversation moving forward, is looking at the contract. You all are abiding by the contract, and
Right.
I get that. And
Sure.
it's very clear that you all are busy and doing meaningful work and building those relationships. But I think when we talk about accountability or transparency, or again, what's the larger strategy? How are we moving forward as a city? Looking at those metrics, those meaningful metrics will be helpful, and maybe, to your point, in addition to or complementary to this report. So thank you.
I think there's an opportunity, particularly in this strategic planning process. To your point, this is, and Kenny said it well, I think this is a report on things that we agreed are important transaction things that we've all agreed are important to move the needle. But I think a chance for this group, this body, and many others throughout the community to really engage in what are we trying to build and why, and how do we actually have thoughtful conversations around that. So welcome those. So thank you again, trustee. I think your point is spot on, considering the timing of these conversations as well.
Any other questions? No, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
We'll need to go ahead and take a motion on to receive that report. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Thank you. Brings us to item 4G, the Alliance for Economic Development of Oklahoma City Fiscal Year 2023 Fourth Quarter Report. Mr. Siddle.
Well, the report's in your packet. I'm going to try to hit some highlights, but certainly if there's any questions about things, I know you all are not shy. So again, we always kind of have highlighted here at the beginning the ARPA contract that the Alliance, as a reminder, is administering about $20 million or so of ARPA funds for small business programs. So there's information there about the continued progress we're making on technical assistance, facade improvements, other COVID-related improvements. We've also had a business district capacity program, and we've actually been working, providing some incentives to the different business districts around the city, and they're listed there in your packet. We recently launched the Minority Supplier Program, which was a program that partnered with the Urban League, Hispanic Chamber, and REI Oklahoma to provide training and opportunities for minority businesses to get prepared and ready and learn how to bid on books of business with larger companies. And we're working on the other side of that, trying to coordinate, bringing companies to do some matchmaking. Continuing business accelerator programs, we've had several that have completed and are starting second, cohorts. We're doing workforce development things in the technical and coding space, but also kind of the retail and hospitality space. Those were things that were identified in our EY study that we did back in CARES. So those are some of the things with ARPA. development project related, there's a lot, I'm happy to report, happening right now, which, with a lot of the headwinds we have going on, it's fun to go around and look at all the cranes and things that are happening. So just, quickly, again, you all did an amendment to a 577 project, so work continues out there on both the site improvements, but also the 3 sites that have been approved are working towards getting those closed and moving. The Pratt Whitney, which is a really big, if you've driven by an I-240 in Air Depot, $255 million project there. Lots of dirt has been moved. They are really going rapidly constructing that. Page Woodson on 4th Street. Its phase 4 is going right now, which is 3 buildings. If you drive down that, drove down it 2 or 3 times here in the last week, and those buildings are up right on. I think there's 3 new buildings going up, and a couple of them front 4th Street. So that's about 214 units of additional in that phase, apartments that are going in there. We've got a lot of infill housing going on. We've got over 50, probably more than that, houses and duplexes that are being built on urban renewal land that are at different stages of redevelopment agreement or actually under construction. The Convergence project, we had the financial closing, which involved incentives from the Redevelopment Authority, but also some help that came from the Economic Development Trust. That was a huge project that has been started, but we actually had the financial closing on that, and Innovation Hall, which was a related project. And a fun fact on that is the CPACE program, which is something that is really less than a year old. We had the largest CPACE financing on that in our history. It was over $28 million, was part of that capital stack. So lots of things going on there. Some other highlights. The Muse at 4th and Chartel, another 300 units of apartments, has opened up. We've got the truck yard development in Lower Bricktown, which is you've begun construction. I think it'll be done about a year from now. We also had a project that went through the innovation TIF districts recently to approve the hub at 13th and Broadway, which is a 7-story office tower for Core Bank and 290 plus apartments. So one theme we're seeing is there's a lot of interest. You saw projects here today about housing. There's a lot of interest in, and at all different price points and sizes. We've had, kind of more things on the luxury end. We had some very small, affordable things. We've had a lot of things in the middle with the Harlow and the Hub and other projects. So really interesting to see, I'll side comment on that is, we hear from folks that downtown residents, usually in a big city, are somewhere between 2 and 7% of your population, and we're only at about 1.5. So there's a lot of demand for that right now. Couple other things, we had folks, one of our sister organizations at the Alliance is Progress OKC, that's part of the consortium that's going to be participating in running the Foster Center, and they had done a trip here recently to visit some cities and look at similar business development projects, and they're still gathering ideas as they're putting together the scope of what happens there. So that's exciting to watch. And then recently, one other thing I mentioned, Page Woodson, that area, we just completed about a 2-year study that's been released called the South of 8th Report. That was a really big community engagement project that went through the Redevelopment Authority. Over 400 Northeast residents participated in some form or fashion. It was a 2-year study that looked at the development, desires and patterns that folks would like to see happen between Lottie and Lincoln, 8th and 1st Street. And so that has been accepted by the Redevelopment Authority, and there's a public launch of it happening on September 14th. And so we're hoping that starts kicking off a lot of development in that area as well. So lots of things going on. Those are some of the highlights. If there's anything else, I will also probably should mention with some of the challenges Jeff mentioned, we are doing some studies about those large industrial sites and employment lands, and trying to look at what are some strategies and things to tackle there. So with that, be happy to answer any other questions on the report.
Any questions, comments? Thank you. We can take a motion to receive that item as well. We have a motion and a second. The item passes. Brings us to item 5, the general manager's report. Ms. McSpadden?
Nothing unusual to report today. I guess we'll take questions if you've got them.
Happy to answer questions if you have any.
She used so many minutes previously in her questions.
I know, so weird. Well, thank you for that. You've saved us all a lot of time today. We appreciate it. All right, that brings us to any comments from staff.
So sorry, I saved mine for this section. I just wanted to give you all an update on new appointments to our TIF review committees. So as you know, those committees meet and make recommendations to this body for TIF allocations, and I want to give you an update on some new appointments because those go through council, but they do not necessarily come through this board. So Oklahoma Riverfront Redevelopment Review Committee, this is the area over by the Dell complex. We've added Gloria Torres and Donovan Woods as at-large members to that body. Court Shore Reinvestment Area has a new member, Mariana Adams, added as an at-large member. And our Downtown Maps Increment Review Committee, which has had the same at-large member since its creation 20 years ago. Chris Kaufman decided to retire from that and COTPA. I think he was on COTPA as well. And so we have named William Bill Mee as an at-large member for that TIF Review Committee. So just an update. That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments from staff? Any comments from trustees? Any comments from citizens? I did want to congratulate the young man back there that he was able to stay awake the whole meeting. Did you have any comments for us or no? You're good? All right, that gets us to item 7. We are adjourned.